There are loads of people that are going to watch this program and be like, I've got a WD hard disk drive, HDD, somewhere in my home.
I understand you have one.
And I have one, right? And it protects some of my most valuable memories in terms of photos and videos. But the story is data center. And probably it's underappreciated. So start with that, where HDD fits in the data center story, and then use that to contextualize what is crazy demand right now.
Sure. I mean, if you look at the AI value chain, a lot of focus has been around the compute resources, right? GPUs, memory. That's the source of compute that's generating data. But ultimately, data needs to get stored. That data that's generated, it needs to be stored, right? And that's where hard drives really come to the fore. 80% of data that is stored in the cloud is stored on hard drives. And as you look at where things are going with AI, what is happening is actually there's a structural change in how hyperscalers, the market really looks at the value of AI. And as a result of that, as the value of data increases, by association, storage increases as well, because you need to store more and more of that data. And a simple analogy to use is power generation.
Right.
If you think of GPUs and memory as the power generators, data is actually the fuel that powers those power plants, right? And so really that is fundamental to enable AI going forward. So in short, if you don't have HDDs to be able to store that data that's being created.
Can we extrapolate on that analogy a little bit? So when we think about a data center, we think of it in terms of gigawatts. A gigawatt equates to hundreds of thousands of GPUs, depending on the stack. Is there an equivalent that our audience can understand when it comes to storage? So, a like for like that you can chew on, maybe it's in petabytes, something like that, at that scale.
There isn't really a rule of thumb that you could use, say if you have a gigawatt of compute, how much does that translate into storage? Because in a way, there's a bifurcation of compute from storage. If you think about AI, every time you run an AI workload, whether it's training or it's inference, those compute resources can be recycled every time you run a training model development or an inference workload. But the data that's getting generated as a result of that gets stored. It doesn't get deleted.
Right.
So storage is actually growing because of the value of data increasing over time as well.
How much is your supply growing? How much can you ramp up to meet the fierce demand?
So we've projected that exabyte growth, which is the amount of storage that's needed, is going to grow at 25% CAGR over the next 5 years. We feel very confident that with the technology enhancements that we're bringing to be able to deliver higher capacity drives to the market, we're able to meet that demand going forward.
What's interesting is it's yourself and Seagate many would sort of see as...
like a duopoly, basically.
Yeah, the place that people come to. How are you ensuring with this fierce demand and perhaps anxiety coming from cloud providers and the like, that they're not double ordering, that they're not ordering from you at the same time as Seagate to make sure that they get the fastest and the speediest?
Yeah, that's something we pay very close attention to, looking at the inventory levels that our customers have, working very closely with them to reassure them that we have a technology roadmap that's going to be able to meet their needs. And I think what they also appreciate that storage has become a critical piece of the AI data center infrastructure stack. And as a result, we've really shifted the partnership model with our customers. They're giving us really good insight into the applications and workloads they're bringing to market over the next few years. A lot of it's going to be multimodal in nature. And what I mean by that, lots of it's going to be video-based, because video is going to be a big driver of storage. And that's giving us a lot more confidence in terms of the demand that they are signaling to us, and also ensuring that they're not creating an oversupply in the market.
I mean, you talked about your innovation roadmap. Can we talk a minute about heated-assisted magnetic recording, for those who aren't in the lingo? Yeah. But basically, this is something that Seagate's been pushing forward on, and you too have been bringing that sort of innovation. Where are you in terms of neck and neck? And you're already bringing this to customers. How is it testing out? What does it do?
Yeah, so we're already qualifying our heat-assisted magnetic recording, or HAMR, affectionately, as we call it, with 2 customers. But we've taken a slightly different approach from our peer, where we have a dual-track process, right? We definitely are committed to HAMR, and that's required to get us to 100 terabytes per drive and beyond. But in the interim, we feel that with our current ePMR technology, for the next 3 years, we can actually get up to 60 terabytes and deliver it with more reliability, more quality, and more scalability to our customers than a hard transition to HAMR.
So I've got to go back to something earlier. Why don't you just increase capacity?
We don't need to increase unit capacity. What we're actually doing is to use technology to increase the capacity per drive. So today we're shipping at the top end of our products a 32 terabyte hard drive. In the second half of this year, we'll be shipping a 40 terabyte drive. Right. And between now and 2028, we'll be shipping close to a 60 terabyte hard drive. So just imagine that the capacity per drive is doubling in the next 2 years. So we don't actually have to increase the number of units we're producing. That's great for our customers because it means better total cost of ownership through higher rack density, lower power consumption, and that's something that also aids the lower power demands of data centers.
I'm going to have to compress this, but WD separated SanDisk, right? NAND flash. That has been an interesting financial transaction, and hopefully we can get to it with time. But the basic conviction is that HDD is the way to go. Focus. But the flash guys would argue, in the context of the data center and the cloud, that SSD is going to have a role. Where's your latest thinking on how that went and the project long term?
So I think that the spin has been a very successful one. If you look at how both companies have performed since the spin close to a year ago.
Astonishingly well.
Both have done really well. I think what is given both companies is a singular focus on their specific technology roadmaps, specific segments of the market that they play in as well. And specifically to your point, look, we are symbiotic, right? I mentioned 80% of data that gets stored in the cloud are on hard drives. SSDs represent the next 15, 20% of it as well. So it's a symbiotic relationship. There are some workloads that require lower latency that are very much designed for SSDs. When it comes to long-term storage, the vast majority of metadata to support training and AI inference going forward, that's going to be leveraging HDDs because of the superior economics that we deliver. We've also launched a month ago at our Innovation Day some new innovations coming out over the next 12 to 24 months. It's going to improve the data throughput and performance of hard drives that will also be able to support the needs of AI workloads coming down the pike as well.
You're a global company. We have a pretty global issue on our hands at the moment. How are you thinking about your supply chain risk? How are you thinking about ensuring that your customers get what they need and when they want, when you have manufacturing as far flung as Thailand, as China, here in the United States as well?
Yeah, we have a very global supply chain and quite a diversified one as well. And we constantly model risk scenarios like the conflict that we're unfortunately seeing in the Middle East right now. And from our current perspective, we're keeping a very close watch on it. I'm pleased to say, as of now, none of our employees in that region are in fact impacted, and there's no material impact to our business as well.